welcome to In My Opinion for Daymare 1998. A call has been sent after an incident has happened at a lab. A special group called Hades is sent there with a mission to find the missing researchers and collect some materials for the US government. After completing said task and heading back to the base via chopper, shit goes foobar and the chopper crashes, along with the materials, which leaks into the town of Keenside, turning everyone into basically zombies. While this is all happening, a resident of Keenside, Sam, heads home to witness the horror of his wife being killed and the murderer escaping. There are also two soldiers from Hades who survived the crash, Liev and Raven. Now these two are just trying to escape this nightmare while Sam is out looking for his wife's killer. Now I know this sounds like a lot of interesting stuff is happening with these characters, but to be honest, I could not get myself to care for the cast, as they came off rather meh. And the only character that stood out was Liev, and that's because he's a giant asshole. What actually caught my interest was trying to figure out more about the history of Keenside, as there seems a lot to it that kind of connects to what's going on. There are some documents you can find that dive a bit deeper on that, but that runs into its own problems that I'll talk about later. I will also say, while the game does not give you clear answers while playing, it does give you a big info dump after the credits, so don't turn off the game once the credits hit. I don't think it was the best option, but hey, at least I got some answers instead of leaving very confused. This is a third-person survival horror shooter. You'll be taking out the zombies with about 3 guns, finding your third weapon later. Reloading works a bit differently here than your usual shooter, as yes, while you can't simply reload with a push of a button, there's 2 types of reloading while playing, which is fast and slow. Fast reloading makes you drop your ammo clip while filling up your gun, while slow keeps your ammo clip in your inventory while filling up your gun. You still have the option to manually reload within your inventory menu by combining ammo boxes with your weapon, but the game doesn't pause for this. There's also an extra bullet type you can find to give an extra boom to your shot. The inventory is also how you heal up, as you find fluids around the world, and while some give health, others give other temporary boosts like stamina. You're allowed to combine these for a stronger effect, and even can mix and match some so you can heal and also get a little boost as well. And you can mix some juice with something else to even make a healing fluid. Though be warned, using too much healing at one time can end up having you overdose, hurting you. While in the inventory menu, you can also check your health, documents, and it also has a pretty helpful map. If you don't want to go into the inventory to check your health, you can bring it up with a push of a button to make sure you're not dying. The shooting itself isn't all that bad or complicated, you just aim and boom. Also, getting some headshots can result in some head popping, especially when you use your hollow point ammo. I understand why they try to be a little different with the whole clip reloading, as it does add tension to the combat, as zombies can easily get close to you if you're not paying attention or stuck in a tight spot. So you have to choose losing a clip for that moment, not being able to easily reload again, or do a slow reload with a chance of getting attacked but still keeping the easier reload clip. I do like that at the start of the game you can choose to get rid of the whole clip mechanic if it sounds like too much of a pain in the butt to you, but I decided to play the default way to see how it felt. While playing, you'll probably be wondering, where are the save points? Well, the manual save points are pretty limited. Eventually during the story, you'll be given the ability to hear beeps that leads you to uncovering walls, which leads to a save station. Not only can you save here, but you can also trade items for other items like bullets, or store some items that are shared between other save points, which is a good thing, but with these being so rare, it can feel pointless at times. You can also read some data chips you find off dead bodies, which gives you some insight on some of these people's final moments, and it leads to some item rewards like healing items or bullets. Now, with these manual spots being so far from one another, you will be depending mostly on the auto-save system, which I can say is handled pretty well, as the few times I died, I never felt like I lost a ton of progress. I can see some people not digging how movement works, as it's not as smooth as other third-person games, but it's nowhere near awful, and it just takes a few minutes to get used to. There are a few bosses in this game, and I will say they don't feel all that special, especially since some become just regular enemies later on, or just get reused as someone else's boss. The only real standout boss is at the very end. I also felt the temporary boost fluids you can find in the game are rather useless, as it didn't feel like they did anything. It's just best to stick with the healing ones. The game also has a hacker minigame which you need to carry wires in your inventory to do. These are not really difficult and I just press the right button at the right time sort of thing. And if you get it, it will usually reward you with some useful bullets or healing fluids. So the good thing is, even if you fail to open these doors since messing up uses up a wire, it's not like you're missing on anything super important. There are some documents you can find in the game that help build this world, but as I said in the story section, this comes with a problem, as while you can read some of these documents in game, for some reason that I just don't get, they made most of the documents only readable online on a special site after you put in a code from said document you found in the game. As a great man once said, what were they thinking? It takes you completely out of the game, especially if you're playing on consoles, as you have to stop the game, go to the website, put in the code, and sit and read on a different screen, and there are tons of documents that fall into the website side of things. I actually used it once and stopped because I wanted to see how my experience would feel without them. And at least they don't go that extra asshole mile and put the codes for the lockers that contain extra goodies like ammo for your most powerful gun in these online only documents. This just makes the game stumble when it comes to building this world. As I said, I read a document and it gave me some insight on the life of a resident of King's Sight, shining the light of the shady feeling of the town. This can't be a budget issue, as I played many of lower budget games, and when they had documents, all of them were readable in game. I mean, imagine something like the well-known and loved Itchy Tasty document was handled like this. Now on to something more positive about the game, which is puzzles. The more modern Resident Evil games have lost some of their luster with their puzzles, or just lack them. This game feels more like the classic Resident Evil games when it comes to puzzles. While there is some that are just turn this and that, there are some that you need to use your head a bit more and actually pay attention to what you read and even hear. I heard some say these are just way too hard, and to be honest, the only one that was kind of like that was a keyboard one, and that's cause to really help you need an actual keyboard in front of you. Besides that, I didn't have too much trouble and I enjoyed most of the puzzles. They ain't much in unlockables, which is odd, as you would think these cute little deers that give a nod to other movies would unlock something, but nope, which is pretty dang disappointing. At least finding them is pretty easy, as you just have to keep your ears open, and the game lets you know how many are there in each section. Though be sure to find them, as while they stay unlocked once you find them, there is no chapter select, so if you miss any, you must play the whole game over again. Yeah, I'ma be honest here, when it comes to the character models, this is not the best looking game, as they seem rather stiff in the face, so it's kinda creepy. The zombies themselves aren't too bad, and some of the creature designs are okay. There are some funny visual goofs, like head shooting a zombie only for his neck to stretch and head to bob and weave. The areas you'll be exploring fare much better, especially when you're in the suburb area, as it actually feels lived in, and it adds to the horror atmosphere, which is pretty good. You'll also never feel like you're seeing the same exact area over and over, except from one instance, but that's more tied with the story than being lazy. There's also a ton of Easter eggs in this game, which was pretty neat to see. I also like the little touch for Sam, as he suffers from some sort of sickness that makes him hallucinate, and the game does trick you, making you think you're dealing with a zombie when it's not really there. Thankfully, if you get caught by one of these, you won't get damaged, so it adds to the horror without being annoying. Now for the voice acting, and well, it's something pretty special. I'm assuming it's supposed to be cheesy and bad in a good way, as from what I understand, the team's taking inspiration from older Resident Evil titles. And let's be honest, those games had some so bad it's good voice acting. Surprisingly, I didn't run into many technical issues, no freezing or crashes. The most that would happen is some clipping with the models. Frame rate ain't perfect, but it's playable and didn't make me feel miserable.
I simply can't waste such a talent. I have another task for you.
What the fuck, man? Listen, I ain't parading around your hospital risking my damn life chopping corpses for you.
The game has some issues and head-scratching decisions like the whole document thing. The cast of characters ain't the best around, but at least their line delivery and dialogue kept me entertained. And while the story does leave you confused most of the time, at least they clear it up a bit in the after credits info dump. Also, the gameplay is pretty solid, and I like the fact that I felt like some effort went into the game's puzzles. I was done in about 11 hours, and there's no real replay value unless you want to try a harder difficulty. So yeah, even with some of its flaws, I still found myself having some enjoyment with the game, and if you have some interest in the survival horror genre, I will say this is worth giving a look. I hope you enjoy my thoughts on this game, and for gamer's sake, keep gaming.